always feel like forgiving somebody when I do it. I don't always feel like loving somebody when I do it. I almost never feel like responding in grace when I'm being wronged. I'm working on it. But I'm still going to respond in grace. So I'm faithing it until I become it. But I'm expecting that it will be who I become. Because I'm being transformed into the likeness of Christ from glory unto glory unto glory. And so I'm expecting that as I do it, it will activate what is true in my life, and it won't just be a truth, it'll be my reality. And when I am having an interaction with somebody that makes me feel less than great, I get to remember my position, shift my point of view, allow the perception of God's love, the reality of God's love, to be my perception of how the filter. Your perception in some regard is your filter. You know, it's the emotion that you filter everything through. Everything gets filtered through failure. Everything gets filtered through rejection. Everything gets filtered through not good enough. Whatever it is, it becomes your filter that everything goes through. And so if I'm continuously positioned with God, His love becomes the filter of every interaction I have. Every word that you say to me is getting filtered through His love. Every response, every look, every attitude you have in our conversation, before it gets to me, it's getting God's love is filtering it. And it changes the way, not the way I will, but the way I get to respond. Because if I remember my position in Christ, the posture of Christ becomes easy. My system plus my experience is always going to equal the paradigm that I have walked in, unless I add Jesus to it. Now it's a paradigm shift. He is offering me an opportunity to reverse the cycles in my life, to change the paradigm from my system and my experience to the basic principles of Christ. That's what Colossians 2:6-8 is talking about. It's talking about coming into the fullness of Christ. If we go on and read, it says, "For in Him dwells the fullness of the Godhead bodily, and you are complete in Him." Everybody say, "I am complete in Christ." Okay, now say it like you mean it. I am complete in Christ. Now I want you to say your name. Charity.
Charity.
You are.
Charity, I'm complete in Christ.
Okay, now I want you to say it like you're speaking to yourself.
Charity, you are complete in Christ.
There we go. So, you are complete in Christ. Now, do you feel complete in Christ all the time?
No.
Does your experience of your emotions negate what is true in that moment? If you let it, it will.
Yes.
But it never trumps what's true.
No. The truth.
There is a truth that always trumps your reality. Okay? There is a truth that always trumps your reality. And the reality is you are complete in Him, who is the head of all principality and power. Meaning He is the head of your system and your experience. You mean God is big enough to overcome and be a principality and a power over my depression? Yes. What about my rejection? No, you don't understand. I really have been rejected. Yeah, girl, I know. Yeah. Men, you don't understand. I really have failed half of my life. Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is you can't allow your system and your experience to define who you are, because when you do, you walk in the paradigm of that core belief, and that core belief then teaches and trains life how to treat you. Let me give you an example. Is what you have been brought up under. Your system is the influence of your parents. It's the influence of your education system. It's the influence of the churches you attended. It's the influence of your teachers. It's the influence of your culture. So we have two options here. We have the option in the way of the world and the definition of the world. And then we have the option of Christ and the definition that Christ offers us. So the world is offering us a definition. Christ is offering us a definition. And we live our lives hanging in the balance. When we have been rooted and established here, yet we live our lives according to the rooting and the establishment that we we've experienced here. Over here is my reality, over here is my truth. And that's where we struggle. We struggle with the realities of what I have learned, what I have experienced, what I have felt, what I think, what I believe, and the truth of God.